The Trump administration announced Monday it plans to revise some Obama-era greenhouse gas and fuel emission standards for some cars and some trucks. In a statement, Environmental Protection Agency Administrator Scott Pruitt said the emission standards under President Obama, quote, didn't comport with reality, unquote, and were too high. Pruitt did not say how far the Obama-era rules would be rolled back, only that his EPA would seek more appropriate standards, in his words. CBS News Radio correspondent Steve Dorsey joins me now for more on the EPA announcement. Steve, the agency says the revisions to the current standards are necessary because there was new data. What do we know that it could look like?
Well, what we know so far is what they would have looked like under these Obama-era rules in 2025, requiring new cars to have a fuel economy of somewhere between 50 and 55 miles per gallon. That's about double where we are right now. As you said, the EPA says these are too high. These are apparently unrealistic, and that a new national standard that it will set will allow manufacturers to make cars that people both want and can afford.
So is it surprising that the EPA wants to make these particular changes?
No, not at all. We've been hearing the Trump administration consistently attack these Obama-era rules, especially as they relate to climate change. Remember last year when the president made that big announcement that the U.S. would be one of only 2 countries, really, to pull out of the Paris Climate Accord, and this is just one step that the Trump administration is taking to roll back some of those efforts to fight climate change under the Obama administration.
So how can we expect automakers to react to this announcement, given that they were gearing up to make these new changes?
This is something that the auto industry generally has welcomed, that this is welcome news by the EPA. They want more flexibility in setting their own fuel standards. However, they recognize they have to compete, especially in places like Europe, where there are higher fuel standards, especially than in parts of the United States. Still, Ford, for its own part, said online in an essay posted on the website Medium that it wants flexibility, but it does not want these Obama-era fuel emission standards to be completely rolled back.
So interesting. The EPA also says that it is reexamining a waiver that would let California determine its own standards. So that sort of is in line with what Europe is kind of looking to do. What does this mean for the state?
This is central to this story. This is now pitting the Trump administration against the government of California, which has long been able to set stricter fuel emission standards under a waiver that the EPA has been granting it that was written into the 1970 Clean Air Act. And not only has California been allowed to enforce stricter fuel emission standards, but 12 other states, including big ones like New York and Pennsylvania and Massachusetts, have been following their lead. This will likely end up in court.
Yeah, absolutely. And when there's a controversy like this, the lawyers are always soon to follow. Where will these legal battles be taking place? In the states themselves, or will it be on the federal level?
Likely it'll be on the federal level, and this is where we'll see this fight play out between environmentalists and state regulators in California and the Trump administration. This is expected to be very heated, and this is just one example, really, of California taking a stand against the Trump White House and the federal government. This is not the only issue they're at odds with. You recall the fight over sanctuary cities and immigration and now federal lands. So this will be a centennial legal battle for the state of California and the Trump administration.
All right. Steve Dorsey, thanks so much.
Thank you.